What's up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over 5 must-have or must-try fragrances that I have in my collection that I think you should definitely get a sample of if you haven't already, or at least just try it out for yourself in a Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth, or any of those places. Unless you don't have one, then maybe order a sample. But these are 5 must-haves in my collection. I feel like a lot of these I talk about often. My phone is just in my way. But yeah, Poe kind of gave me this idea just because he was talking about how much I talk about Viking, and how he has to get his nose on it to just understand what I'm talking about, I guess. But these are going to be 5 of those fragrances that I definitely recommend getting samples of if you have not tried them yet. Some of these are going to be hard to find in stores, but I mean, samples you could probably get for like under $10 if you're interested in any of these. Also, I do have affiliate links in my description down below if you're interested in any of these fragrances, looking for a discounter. I do have a lot of the slept-on discounters in my description. If you want to check those out, I do earn a small commission at no cost to you, but it helps support the channel. So let's go ahead and get started. First, just because it's the one fragrance that kind of inspired this video idea, it's going to be Creed Viking. Yes, Poe, definitely get your hands on a sample of this. I love this fragrance. Arguably the best Creed. And yes, I'm saying it's over Royal Oud. Is it close to topping Aventus? If I didn't have any memories or like great memories about Aventus, this would probably be number 1. For myself, I feel like this doesn't get talked about a lot. For people that talk about Creed fragrances, I feel like Viking's very slept on. I feel like Royal Oud's talked about. It's obviously like a darling in the community. Aventus, we all love Aventus, and Aventus has been cloned to death. I don't know if there's any good clones of Viking. I don't even know if there's any clones of Viking. Honestly, maybe like Alexandria fragrances, or maybe in Fragrance By they have like the clones. But I'm honestly not too sure. Viking, I feel like it got the hate just because it came out after, or like it's one of the better releases after Aventus, but people were still defending Aventus. I feel like that's could be why. But even though like people talk about maybe Original Santal more, I'm thinking about all the Creeds I have in my collection, but this one I feel like doesn't get too much attention. Viking Cologne gets some attention. Viking Cologne is nothing similar to this. Viking Cologne is actually a lot worse than this. I thought Viking Cologne was okay, but nothing close. Some people say it's a watered down Viking. Absolutely not. Not at all. If it was watered down Viking, I would enjoy it more than I did. But Viking Cologne and Viking are 2 very different fragrances. But I will 100% go with Viking. I've had it for years, and it's one that I still love wearing. Aventus, I still love wearing Aventus, but I don't reach for it as much as I've reached for this one. This is just a great set, and I definitely recommend you buying it or trying it at least. But yeah, let's go ahead and get to the next one. Next one is going to be a Louis Vuitton. It's going to be a Louis Vuitton fragrance that gets a lot of love. It's going to be Imagination. This is a fragrance that I believe definitely need to try it, but it's one of those that I feel like you have to have that little sample that they give you. You can get it for free at Louis Vuitton. You could also find samples of it online, as long as it's like an actual authentic person telling you an actual Louis Vuitton fragrance decant or sample. Then it's a really good fragrance. I could see why people wouldn't be interested or impressed if they just smelled it on a test strip and then, just smelled it. I could see why, because I was one of those people. It just happened to be that I got a sample of it. Once I got the sample of it, wore it a few times, I was like, all right, this is really good fragrance and I need to have it. It's one of those I have to have fragrance, and I definitely recommend you getting a sample and trying the fragrance. It is a more expensive fragrance. Obviously, this is the most expensive fragrance in this list, but I'm telling you, it's one of those trust me bros after you start wearing it, especially wear that sample a few times, keep it in the back of your hand. Just keep in mind smell it in a few times because it really did impress me. I thought Imagination at first was not worth the hype. It was one of those that I smelled at a Louis Vuitton a while back. I wasn't really too impressed. I was still more interested in Ombre Nomad, but after getting the sample from the associate and I wore the sample, I was like, oh man, I definitely need it. Imagine, I love this so much that I got 200 mLs of it. Next, let's get a little cheaper just because I feel like this is kind of a crazy list already. Let's get a little cheaper with L'Homme Ideal Extreme. This is a fragrance you can find for under $100, and depending where you're looking at, you can find the Extreme for under $60. Well, for this size at least. I haven't worn it in a few weeks now. Unfortunately, it's the only 50 ml Guerlain bottle that I have, but it's a really good fragrance. Talking about Guerlains, I actually did end up selling Habit Rouge Eau de Parfum just because I got a comment the other day saying that the Parfum is better. So I will take your word on it, and I am going to buy the Parfum whenever I can find it on a discounter for a really good price. But in the meantime, just sold the Eau de Parfum, and I could wait for the Parfum. I'm not really in a rush to spend too much money on it just to get it, right? So, but anyways, L'Homme Ideal Extreme is a really good fragrance. Definitely recommend getting your nose on it. I think it's something about the cherry almond mix, how it mixes in the dry down. It's a really nice mix. I don't even know how to explain it, but it's just a really good fragrance. It's one that surprised me, you know, after you have tried so many fragrances, there's only a certain point that, you know, you get not like in a lot of fragrances aren't too interesting anymore. Like it's like you smelled them before, or just not that great. Maybe they smell a little cheap, but again, it's made most of the time. It's like you smelled it before. This is something that even though I had smelled it before, kind of, because I had the Eau de Toilette, this made it so much better that I couldn't believe how good it is. Like it's one of these, like, I can't believe how good it is, and for the price, I can't believe how cheap it is for how good it is. I would definitely spend a lot of money on this fragrance. Good thing is that it's under $100, but I could, let's say this was a Louis Vuitton fragrance and it cost into the $300 range, I would probably consider purchasing the fragrance. Even if it was like a Creed fragrance, of course the dogs are barking. If it was like a Creed fragrance in the $200 range, I would also buy this fragrance. So, yeah, definitely one that I'd recommend getting your hands on. It's that good. I don't have my projection and longevity on it with this fragrance is really good, and actually it's really good in the opening, and it gets even better in the dry down. Like you catch me at work if I have it under my shirt or something, I'm just like, you know, trying to take a quick whiff just to smell it. Not weird at all, but you know, it's just, don't worry about it. All right, next on this list is going to be Sauvage Elixir. Sauvage Elixir by Dior. It's one of those must-try fragrances. Old school masculine. I think it's great. It deserves the hype it got, even though I believe the hype is kind of dying down a little bit. I haven't really seen too much talk about Sauvage Elixir. So maybe you're able to find it at a better price now. I'm not too sure. I haven't looked at the price recently, but definitely want to recommend trying a sample of. Yes, I have smelled Assad. Meh, not really. You know, it's close, but it's just not there, if it makes sense. Oun by, I forgot what the name of it was. I think it was Fragrance World, and it was like Oun, and it was like in a similar bottle. I used to have it. That one was also really good. Again, close. But it's something about having the original fragrance that it's like a step ahead or steps ahead. The quality's there. You can smell the difference. It's one of those you just have to try it for yourself. Sauvage Elixir for sure. Definitely recommend getting a sample of. If you have not tried it, I mean, at this point, I feel like everybody probably has tried this fragrance. I feel like I don't really see this fragrance in like a Sephora or Ulta though. I feel like I've only seen it in Macy's, and they hardly ever have it out. You kind of have to ask the person to smell it, at least the ones here in Buffalo. And lastly, this is going to be one of the ones that's going to probably be the hardest to get your hands on, like in a store. I haven't come across this fragrance in a store, but I also don't live anywhere where there's any of these like niche perfume places, or I don't even have an off Fifth or a Saks Fifth, whatever it is. I don't even Marcus. I don't have a Bloomingdale's. I don't have any of that. So I would have to make a short 2-hour trip to Toronto to be able to smell these fragrances. But the drive to Toronto, it's a pain to get off into like the exit into Toronto. Is like it takes about 2 hours to get to Toronto, and it takes about 2 hours to get off the exit in Toronto. Depends on what time, obviously, but it's gonna be Amouage Jubilation 25. Jubilation 25, again, it's going to be one that I would recommend sampling. Definitely give it a wearing, give it 2 wearings. My first wearing, I was unsure. My second wearing, I was in love. So that's why I would probably recommend a sample for this one. You could maybe even just, it'll probably be a little bit different for you, but let's say you spray it on the back of your hand and go home, but just enjoy the fragrance as it dries. Enjoy the qualities of the fragrance. It's one of the Amouage fragrances are great. But yeah, it's one of those that if you don't like it the first time you try it, if you think it's okay, give it a second wearing. You might like it a little bit better. It's one of the ones that's what I went through, and I love this fragrance now. It's my favorite Amouage, and I do have Reflection Man. I definitely reach for this more than Reflection Man. It's very situational, kind of. It's like when you're just trying to give off that manly man vibe, I guess. You could wear this fragrance. Doesn't do any of that sweet stuff that's out there today. Yes, even though I'm a young person, I am not the biggest fan of very sweet designer fragrances. It doesn't really appeal to me. Having things like, Jubilation 25 and Creed Viking. The sweetest one in this video is going to be Low Ideal Extreme, but that's like a different sweetness that's really good. But that's the kind of DNAs I'm into. Obviously, Sauvage Elixir. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys. Let me know what must-try fragrances I have to try. Fragrances in your collection that you absolutely think I need to get my hands on. If you were to recommend maybe 1 or 2 fragrances that I need to try, definitely leave that in the comments down below. Again, if you want to support the channel, I do have affiliate links in the bottom for discounters that I use, like Venba, Olfactory Factory, The Perfume Spot, Fragrance Buy. I think there is maybe a few, there might be a couple more, but those are just the ones I can remember off the top of my head. Definitely some of those are slept on discounters, and they have great price for niche fragrances, even the new designers that come out. And I noticed that recently Fragrance Buy did get Bois de Pacifique, which I ordered it from France. I still got it cheaper, but I could have just waited, I guess. But either way, I saved $10, so not a big deal. But yeah, that's all I have for you guys today. If you would like to support the channel, like I said, I don't know if I said the part about the commission. I do get a small commission that helps me purchase more fragrances. But that is all I have. Please leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Have a good one, guys.